The toughest times in the NFL calendar is upon us. Every team in the NFL must have their roster down to 53 players by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Packers coach Matt LaFleur obviously excited to get his team in place, but the process of getting there isn't easy.
And now, obviously, a lot of decisions need to be made, and this is always kind of a bittersweet time. You got to say goodbye to a lot of guys that have busted their butt for months and months and years, and I definitely appreciate that locker room. I think we got a great group of guys, and we'll be excited for the guys that make it, and certainly it's always disappointing for those that don't.
Packers will have to cut one more player than expected as they reportedly traded for Philadelphia offensive lineman Darian Kinnard in exchange for a late-round draft pick. Kinnard spent last year with the Eagles, previous to with Kansas City, meaning teams that he's been on has won the last 3 Super Bowls. So again, the deadline to get to 53 players is 3 p.m. tomorrow. Turning to Wisconsin, it is game week for them as they prep for Thursday night's opener against Miami of Ohio. Badgers will be debuting a new offense under the direction of offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes and transfer quarterback Billy Edwards. They're favored by 17.5. Kick on Thursday night, slated for 8 p.m.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers and Diamondbacks getting their series going tonight at American Family Field. Milwaukee looking to bounce back after blowing a late lead and falling to the Giants yesterday. It dropped their lead in the NL Central to 5 games on the Cubs. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
It was poignant. You know, Ueck, there was a lot more to Ueck than the public persona, as great as it was. There was a lot of heart. And like all of us, there were ups and downs in his life, but he didn't wear that on his sleeve. Even as he was going through his cancer treatments and whatnot, if he came to the ballpark, and he wasn't up to it every day or night, but when he came to the ballpark, he was Mr. Baseball with a smile on his face and that vibrancy in his voice. But you could tell toward the end that he sensed that this was the end of his baseball life. And as painful as it was when the lead slipped away against the Mets in the playoffs, if you listen to the last words that Bob spoke, that was like his baseball valedictory. He was saying goodbye to his profession, to the game, and to Milwaukee. And it was very touching.
What a great crowd and turnout to honor such an incredible man. And then just a great event. I didn't think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
This is Bob Costas, the pregame ceremony on the field for Bob Uecker before the game yesterday, and then a little bit of Pat Murphy in his postgame press conference. That comment made me laugh, and we'll hear a little bit more from Murphy. I'll sprinkle it in throughout the show because I thought it was an insightful presser. The part of that press conference that made me laugh was this comment at the end, the last part that you heard.
I didn't think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
Pat, with all due, I know you've been a part of the Brewers coaching staff. You've been part of the org since 2015. So I ask this with all due, with so much respect. Most of it due, based on his job as Council's right-hand man and then the manager the last 2 years. Are you new here?
I didn't think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
Dude, I didn't think the baseball gods would screw the Brewers. Dude, is this your first day on Earth? Of course it was working out that way. I didn't think the baseball gods would do it to us. Well, I guess now you're one of us. You finally completed your circle as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers organization.
I don't
know
think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
Well, get ready to speak baseball gods, buddy, because you manage the Milwaukee Brewers. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. I hope you had a great weekend. Apologies for being off on Friday. I hope you enjoyed not a fully best of show on Friday if you listen, and I also posted the full interview to the show's YouTube channel, which I'm trying to grow. Now that I say that out loud, I don't know really what I'm doing to try, but spiritually, at least the idea I would like for that to be a growing channel. The YouTube page, I posted my interview with Ryan Wood. We're going to be doing that every Friday. for the rest of the season, thanks to Lacrosse Beer House. So I hope, if nothing else on Friday, is I had to be gone for a bachelor party. Yes, I had to. It was my best friend. Yes, I had to go play golf and drink 1,000 beers. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's my obligation as a close friend and as a man to go drink beers and to play golf, which is really all that we did. What a great weekend. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you caught that interview with Ryan Wood on Friday. And if you didn't, again, it's available. You can go watch it on the show's YouTube page, where we're streaming right now, as well as Twitter at Wisco Grant, the Facebook page as well, the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. Speaking of interviews, you are going to see and hear an interview that I did earlier today. I was hosting for Bill today with Kevin Clark. He's going to be here at 4:35. He used to be at the Ringer. And I think a lot of people, when Kevin Clark comes up, he's like, oh, yeah, that was the guy who was always on the Bill Simmons pod, the Ringer NFL show. He'd make the rounds. Very, very good. Well, now he's at ESPN, and he has been for, 2 years, part of Omaha Productions. He's on a lot of their NFL programming, but his show, This Is Football, is outstanding. It's on ESPN 2 in the afternoons. I try to watch it as much as I can just because I think it's NFL Live is great, but This Is Football, Kevin's show, is great because it's Kevin and another guest, and they're just talking. There's no, I don't need the segments with the sound effects. I don't need the you got mossed. I don't need all that stuff. Just talk football. Kevin's really good at it. So you're going to hear that interview coming up in about a half hour at 4:35. The Monday Mailbag will wrap the show. So submit your questions or your concerns or whatever. Just email me, grantbills21@gmail.com. And of course, your texts and calls throughout the show as well at 608-321-1670. I want to start with yesterday, and there's 2 parts to yesterday. I want to make it very clear that I'm separating the 2 parts. I thought the Uecker ceremony was really, really good. And I had high expectations for it. It was going to be hard to not enjoy that. Like, it was going to be really difficult for thousands of Brewers fans in attendance and then us watching along on television or on the radio. It was going to be tough for us to walk away and say, oh, they really didn't do it for me. Like, man, you play a 30-second video of a Uecker and we're all going to, oh, he was the best. We're all going to feel it. So I don't want to say it would be hard to mess up, because there's a lot of moving parts, so much planning and coordination with the guests and the videos and the program and the things throughout the arena. It took months of planning by so many people within the Brewers organization. And I thought, like the home run derby from a couple weeks ago, they you know what they did? They knocked it out of the park. But seriously, they did. It was awesome. And I said earlier on Bill's show, they could have done a third of what they did yesterday. That they could have simply had Bob Costas come out and say a couple words, have Yelich say a couple words, played some videos in between innings and called it a day. And everyone would have loved it. Just wear the special jerseys. Put it this way. If the Brewers had just done this, if they had just worn special jerseys, given away a pin, and played videos throughout the game, I think Brewers fans would have walked away from that thinking, man, Brewers did a great job. They killed it. What a nice tribute. What an awesome day at the ballpark for so many Brewers fans to commemorate a man and a baseball presence that meant so much to so many for so long. And the Brewers did like 2, 3, 4x what I think was the fair expectation, right? Coordinating it with the trip around the bases and the stages of his life. And I think they did a really good job kind of hammering home how important being a player was to him. It's not like he just, I played a couple of years and that allowed me to do the broadcasting. And then that allowed me to get on TV. Like, at his core and in his heart, he was always a baseball player and a baseball guy. He had opportunities. This was laid out very clearly yesterday, to pursue other things, to work a schedule and to live a life that didn't require him to call 162 games a year. And we all think, man, what a magical job that would be. Yeah, it's a pretty cool job, but let's not act like it's like there's no nights and weekends involved. You're on the road with the team, and it's every day, and it's spring training, and it's road trips. And I a lot of broadcasters would look at that as, well, I love getting to be on the radio and I love being a broadcaster, but man, the schedule, right? And I just don't think that was probably ever how Uecker felt. Because at his core, he was a baseball guy. He was a baseball player turned broadcaster. He always had that heart of a player, and that was talked about in the presser before. I heard it on the radio broadcast. I thought Lane Grindle did a segment where he interviewed and talked with Ken Sommerfeld, which is brilliant. I just thought they all communicated like, yeah, he was a star, and people knew him from his time and his appearances on SNL and in wrestling and with Johnny Carson. But through it all, baseball was always the number one thing for him. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that really closes a loop for us Brewers fans that probably for the last year have been hearing, man, he was such a big part of the clubhouse and he meant so much to the team and they're missing him so much. not because he was a broadcaster, although that would be reasonable, but because he was actually a 90-year-old player who also happened to call games on the radio, and he was, unbelievably good at it. So I thought a 10 out of 10 effort by everyone in the Brewers organization yesterday. I honestly, 11, 12 out of 10, because I said they could have done a third of what they did yesterday. And I think everybody would have walked away from the event thinking, how great was that? But the commemoration of the broadcast facility, naming it the Bob Uecker Broadcast Center, exactly, I don't remember the exact wording, but his namesake now, the exhibits around the park, the ceremony, again, was above and beyond what would have been expected, reasonably expected. So a tip of the cap to everyone involved. That was great. And then the game got played, and I don't want to rain on the parade of Bob Uecker's day. Again, let's separate that to the side. The baseball of it all, the Brewers lost yesterday, and maybe it was just because you know what? It probably was because I was doing nothing yesterday. I had nothing going on. I was just watching the game. I was coming back from up north, and I kind of had nothing going on. And sometimes when I have nothing going on and I'm just fully into a Brewers game, if they lose, I get really pissed. Whereas if I'm busy doing something else and the game happens to be going on, I don't get as mad. That was as upset as I've been after a loss all season long. And maybe that's irrational or stupid or silly. And if you're listening, you're like, well, Grant, that's kind of dumb. Okay, well, maybe that's your opinion. We all have opinions. My opinion is that I was enraged after that game yesterday. Well, Grant, they just won 14 in a row. I know, but I'm telling you how I feel, which is technically my job. The end of the day, that felt like another replay of some of the most crushing Brewers moments in my lifetime. And maybe, Grant, that's hyperbole. That's ridiculous. I don't know, 2008 probably to a lesser degree, because I think the victory in 2008 was simply them getting there. 2011, the NLCS, the collapse of 2014, 2018 coming up one game short of a World Series when you had a lead at home, 2019 when you had the eventual World Series champs on the ropes with your guy, Josh Hader, on the mound. I mean, 2022 still crushes me. Or the Hader trade, 2022, I misspoke. 2021, right, when that team had a great starting pitching and it didn't amount to a hill of beans, not even a hill of sand in the postseason. And then 2023 and then 2024 last year, especially, that's what yesterday made me think of. It reminded me of some of my least favorite moments, some of the most angry or sad times that I've been a Brewer fan. And I know it's just a regular season game, but it felt like it was a little bit more than that, celebrating Bob Uecker. It kind of felt like a win needed to happen yesterday. Not to mention, I want them to win the series after losing, 3 of 5 to the Cubs and kind of tailing off over the last week or the last 10 days or so. And you know what this boils down to? You know what I was thinking about yesterday, truly, genuinely? Is this Brewers team, when we talk about, are they ever going to get it done in the postseason? Is it ever going to be their year? This comes up a lot, when I'm just chatting with friends or I'm chatting with family or people calling, we interact on the phone. Something you'll talk about. I'm sure you do this as well with your friends who are Brewers fans. You have conversations that are like, well, is this the year? I mean, look at they're winning. They got the pitching. They got the hitting. It's another great year of Brewers baseball. They're overperforming expectations. But is this the year that they're actually going to be able to get it done? Is this the year they put it all together in the postseason? And this came up just a week or two ago on the show, and I'm going to reiterate what I said at the time. I don't care if they're slugging in the top 50%. I don't contact rate, pitching, if their ERA is this, or if they're averaging 100 miles an hour, if their bullpen is deep, or if their on the field defense is good. Throw all of that out the window. The Brewers are clearly good enough, and they've been good enough. They were good enough to beat the Dodgers in 2018. They were good enough to beat the Nationals. They were good enough to beat the Mets last year. They were definitely good enough to beat the friggin' Diamondbacks, Corbin Burns. They've been good enough. Here's what it boils down to. Are the big players going to make big plays when big plays are needed? At what point are these guys going to step up in a big moment and rise to the occasion? Because yesterday felt like every Brewers playoff game loss that I've ever seen. It's like they had it right there. They just needed one of their big hitters or one of their big pitchers to get it done. And without fail, in my lifetime, not to be Johnny Raincloud today, they never do. They never have. After yesterday, maybe this is, again, a me problem. It's starting to feel like they just never will. And we talk about, are they built to win in October? Are they built to? I don't think there's some magical, mystical mix of percentages and statistics that line up. It's like, this is the profile of a team that can win in October. I said this 2 weeks ago. Pat Murphy, if I was him, and I'm not, I would sit down in the clubhouse with all of my players before a playoff series and say, look, guys, Are you sick of losing in the first round? Are you sick of being a doormat to a team that's getting hot and making it to the World Series? Are you sick of being that team? Okay, well then it's time to rise up to the occasion. And when the team needs a big hit, it's about time. It's high time that somebody gets one. And when the offense gives you a lead early on, Corbin Burns, it's time for that starter to actually bear down and do something with it. And when the starter gives a good performance and the middle relievers get a good performance and you get timely hits and you get timely offense, well then God bless America. To closer, please slam the door. Like, are you guys ready for that? Are you guys ready to step up and do that for the first time in actually literally forever? That's what this is going to come down to for the Brewers. That's what's going to need to happen come October, because they're comfortably in the playoffs. They're going to get in. And I'm done talking about, well, teams that succeed in the playoffs typically have an ERA lower than this, an average exit velocity lower or higher than this, and they need to have a deep bullpen, and the defense needs it throw. I don't care about any of that stuff. I've decided I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. If you're good enough to play at a 90-something win pace and you're good enough to win your division, and the Brewers clearly are, then throw all of that stuff out. Are the Brewers' best players Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Andrew Vaughn at this point, who actually had a couple good swings yesterday, had some bad luck. Relievers like Uribe, McGill, pitchers like Freddie Peralta. Hey guys, are you ready when the playoff lights are shining bright and you have a lead and you have 42,000 fans who are absolutely losing their minds? Are you ready to make a play in that environment? Are you going to make a play in that environment? Because if not, this thing's just never going to happen. It's not about, well, next year we need to get a little bit more power, or next year we need a little bit more depth in the bull. No, you can tweak and tinker and adjust around the edges until the cows come home. But if the big players aren't going to play big in big moments, then it's just never going to happen. And I know that this is definitely an overreaction to a regular season game, but yesterday felt a little bigger because of everything that was going on, because of the crowd, because of their play over the last week. Like, they were fighting to win a series and kind of get themselves right after a little bit of a lull. I wouldn't call this a bad stretch of games. I would call it a little lull. Are you ready to do that thing? Because it didn't feel like it yesterday, and at no point in any playoff series that I've ever watched this team play in has it felt like that. Like, the big time players are ready to play big time when big time is needed. And I think that's what's going to tell the story of this team. Not, well, they didn't have enough slug, or their pitching wasn't good enough. I think they have plenty of everything. Are the big players going to show up when they're needed? Because if not, it's going to feel like yesterday, and it's going to feel like last year, and it's going to feel like 2023 and 2021 and 2019 and 2018. I'd keep going, but that's about it, because this team made like 35 straight years without making the playoffs or whatever it was. So I'll just use those examples because that's plenty of examples, and that's also all the examples that I have to pull from. I'll take your thoughts on the Brewers and, of course, the Bobby Uecker celebration, which was great. And the game did not ruin that. It just ruined my afternoon. Your thoughts on the Brewers coming up next at 608-321-1670. I'll get right to you after this quick break.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
God, I wish we could have got that for Ueck, huh? What a great crowd, and is this such great turnout to honor such an incredible man, and then just a great event. And I didn't think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
Must be new, buddy. This is the Milwaukee Brewers. Not exactly a friend of the sports gods. Never have been. So Pat Murphy finally starting to figure it out. He's turned the corner. And while the celebration was beautiful and excellent, and again, the Brewers did 3, 4, 5x what they would have needed to do, what would have been expected. They could have done a fifth of what they did yesterday, and Brewers fans would have said that was great, that was awesome. A great day to remember Bob Uecker, and they went above and beyond. And the loss yesterday doesn't take away from that. The loss is very separate, and I'm furious about that for lots of reasons. And I think making it worse was hearing this come out of Pat Murphy's mouth after the game.
God, I wish we could have got that for Ueck, huh?
That better be the last time I ever hear that. You know how many times I've heard that in my life? Oh, we'd love to have that one for Uecker. Yeah, that should be written on the wall of the stadium. It should be, wish we could have won that for Ueck Field at American Family Park or something like that. Because, I wish we could have had that one for Ueck. Yeah, I've only heard that 100 times, and that better be the last time I ever hear that. Yeah, that sent me yesterday. 608-321-1670. Your Brewers thoughts? Let's take some calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's Coach Fried here again.
Hey, Coach Fried. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just upset about the game yesterday. That result was gross.
Yeah, I know. You were mentioning earlier how big players got to step up in those moments. And, I mean, you got to say what you want about Braun, but, he had that flair for the dramatic. And at least he cared enough to win that he cheated. I mean, look at him.
Say what you want about Braun. I would never say a single bad thing about Ryan Braun, but
Thank you.
continue.
And there's people out there that discredit him. Multiple clutch hits. Yep. And he cared enough to win that he risked his own career.
Yeah. For the fans, to stay healthy for the fans by cheating.
Yes, he gave us a summer of fun and entertainment, and he risked his own career for that.
Who did he lose the batting title to that summer? Was it not Jose Reyes, but no, he played for the Mets. He was the infielder. Damn it. Okay, this is beside the point.
David Wright?
No, I'll look it up. It's fine. It's fine.
Who knows?
It's fine. Anyways, but the loss yesterday did not take away from the Uecker celebration. Were you there? Were you boots on the ground?
Nope, I was still giving back to the community this past weekend.
What is that? Were you doing yard work?
Yes.
Oh, you were?
We'll be there tonight.
Okay.
We'll be there tonight, keeping the scorebook. We got to get things back on track tonight.
How important is tonight's game given their recent play?
Not going to the game with high expectations. Diamondbacks are a thorn in our side. Mm-hmm. They have been in the last few years, and they're also throwing a guy with a 5.4 ERA, so it's good for 6 innings of no-hit baseball.
I was going to say, and a lefty to boot, I think, as well. So enjoy the game tonight, Coach Fried. Hopefully the sports gods are on our side, although I wouldn't hold my breath, and nor should anyone else. It's the Brewers. By the way, it was Jose Reyes. Did I say Pablo Reyes? I knew it was a Reyes. I was close. Came down to the final day. It was 337, 332. I remember being close. Plus, that bastard bunted for a base hit the last day of the season. I remember that in 2011. What a loser. Although now bunting's kind of cool again. So, again, your thoughts on the Uecker tribute or the game that followed. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemhead, Mike.
Hey, Clemhead. I love when I fill in for Bill, Mike, first and foremost, because I get to chat with you twice a day.
Yeah, great. Me too. Yeah, I get to talk to you twice a day. Because I did once call you twice on your show.
It has happened.
felt well, I hogging phone time, but yeah, I like all the tributes to Bob Uecker. I remember him on the Johnny Carson show. He said the easiest way to catch a knuckleball was to wait until it stopped rolling and pick it up.
Yep.
He
Very
met a lot of important people. They're all sitting behind home plate.
Yeah, right. Very poignant. Well, and the funny thing is, Ueck was so dismissive of his own baseball skill, but never dismissive of baseball. Like he always still, and we learned more of this yesterday. He always thought of himself as a baseball player. You know, as self deprecating as he was, like you could tell how important being a player was to him and the experience of being a player.
Yeah, he batted exactly 200 for his career, but I was reading about how Phil Necro, the knuckleballer, he said Bob Uecker is the only one that could catch his knuckleball. And his first year, I actually was reading this just now, Necro, the first year that Uecker joined the Braves, Necro's ERA dropped from 4.11 to 1.87.
Not bad.
In his first year with Bob Uecker. So that was pretty cool. But,
it was cool to hear the story in the early part of the tribute yesterday of how he started playing. Like this was before they had Little League. So it was whatever, I don't know if it was Legion Ball or if I can't even remember if it was some offshoot of the Braves at the time, but it's not like they just didn't have summer Little League ball, Clemhead. Like I know they have, all over up in Eau Claire, you got Legion Ball and all that. Like that didn't exist. Like it was just, they're just playing out on a field and I don't even remember the organization or the arm of whatever, type of ball they were playing.
Yeah, there have been some great American Legion teams up here. Plus, we got our Cavaliers and Express. But
right.
I was going to tell you, I went to my 50th high school reunion Saturday, and I walked in. It was kind of out in the open, it was all covered, but it was really nice. And I walked in and I said, "Oh my God, who are all these old people?" They're all 68 years old.
And you, of course, are not nearly that old. No, you were a spring chicken at this event.
Yeah, right. I was filling in for my pops. No, I was no. There was actually a couple of people I talked to. They're only 67, but
that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's funny though because some of the people looked really good and some looked really bad. I can tell who took care of themselves.
I suppose. Nice variety.
But yeah, I hope you get to go to your 50th someday. It's the first time I ever went to one of my class reunions, so it was a little different. But
was the big 5-0. Well, and that's the thing. And Clemhead, I appreciate it. So there's two things. I talk with some of my classmates, and I'm not close with many of them. There are a couple. I don't know that high school reunions. Now everyone has Facebook. Like I can see what everyone's doing. Like anybody who I want to keep up with or keep in touch with, it's just so easy to keep up with those people. It's so easy to keep in touch. It's like now we go to like a high school reunion. I know what everyone's doing because we have Facebook and we have Instagram and God knows we have LinkedIn where we all got to talk about. I hate LinkedIn so much, and yet I'm cursed to take part in it. So like, there's no mystery anymore when you go to a high school reunion. Plus, my grade was such a bunch of, plenty of great people, successful people, but there's nobody who's going to be like, you know what, I'll set up the 10-year. I'll set up the 10-year high school reunion, which technically for me would be next year. Like, no one's doing that. No one's taking that on. Just creep on the people on Facebook that you're interested in and ignore the others, which is basically what you would do at a reunion anyways. But I kind of hope I have that experience. But technology might have killed it, Clemhead. The Facebook killed akin to the video killing the radio star. Facebook might have killed the high school reunion. 608-321-1670. One more call here before our break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hi, Grant. It's Tweeter.
Hey,
you want to
Tweeter.
be friends on LinkedIn?
I mean, I would. Dude, I hate LinkedIn. I hate it so much. No one means a single word they're typing over there. And everyone knows it, but we all participate.
Nobody even types anything. It's all like, it all sounds like AI generated, like, super happy to be here. Look at what I did today type stuff anyway.
You typed an Excel spreadsheet. And then no disrespect to anyone who uses Excel, but then it's like, I got to spin it into, it's such a privilege to organize important data. It's like, you don't believe what you're typing. Hey. But yeah, add me on LinkedIn, Tweeter. Absolutely. I would love to professionally connect. It would be great.
All right. Sounds good. I'll have to self-dox myself through LinkedIn, which would be great.
I won't say anything. I won't say a darn thing.
So my one sports question is, with the Badgers starting this week and Packers preseason finally being over,
am I crazy for the rest of this Brewer season? I wish it just got like simulated and we could just see if this team could do anything in October. I go to all these games and I'm just ready. I'm kind of ready to just stop having the discourse between us and the Cubs, hearing about the Cubs, hearing about the lead, and we're about to get into magic numbers season. That's coming within the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want football to start. And I just want to see what this team does in October, because we've seen clearly they can do everything in the regular season. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
No, I think that's a great point, Tweeter. And I think this week is an important one because the Badgers are starting, like you said. The NFL is going to start a week from Thursday. We have college football that was already played this weekend in Ireland, because why wouldn't you start, college football huge in the American South and blue collar places? Yeah, played in Ireland. That makes sense. Sure. Lots of Nebraska Northwestern fans over there. I guess, maybe, I don't know. It does seem to me like, okay, I've seen this team play at a high level. I've seen what they look like when they're kind of scuffling. Yeah, I'm ready to. Let's throw this team into the postseason and see if they're men or if they're mice. I'm down for that. Of course, you would ask a Cubs fan that, and they're like, the season's just getting started. We had a great weekend series against the Angels. The Brewers are scuffling. The division lead is what, 5-6 games or something like that. I'm just the point now where this team's a lock for the playoffs, whether they get a first round bye, whether they win the division. I'd prefer they don't lose the division, but whatever. I just want to see this team in the playoffs, and I want to see what they're made of, because yesterday gives me a feeling it's like, I don't know. That looked like every playoff loss. That looked like every bad moment in Brewers history right there yesterday. It's like you had it right there, and the big players didn't make the plays requisite to win. And it's very frustrating, because I think they have all the tools they need, and I just don't know if they're ready to actually sack up and do the thing. So I'm with you, especially with football starting, Tweeter. It's a good call. When we come back, speaking of football, Kevin Clark. This is Football on ESPN. It's an excellent show. You may know him previously at The Ringer. Had a great run there. Lots of good podcasting and podcast appearances. Big fan of his work. Excited to get him on Bill's show earlier today I was hosting. So you're gonna hear that interview. You're gonna see it on the live stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of the places. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Kevin Clark to talk Packers and to talk NFL.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, get back to your Brewers phone calls, and I want to introduce a Jeff Hafley topic, if I may be so bold, at 5 o'clock after we get an update from Zach. Speaking of Badgers football, Tweeter mentioned in his call before that last break, they are back on Thursday. Zach, our sports director, was at Luke Fickell's presser, as was our own Jesse Temple earlier today, so you'll get a little update, the latest from Zach in the 5 o'clock update, and probably get Zach on either tomorrow or Thursday. I don't know what his game day schedule is like, but on top of Jesse's appearance on Wednesday, we'll probably try to get Zach on at some point this week as well. Joining me earlier today on the Bill Michaels Show, genuinely one of my favorite people who covers and talks about sports. It's Kevin Clark. So I'm just going to replay you that interview. It was at 10:30 this morning. If you're hearing this twice, well, it's really good and you're obviously a fan. So don't complain. Here's that conversation from earlier today. One of my favorite football analysts, and I don't think I'm alone in that. It's Kevin Clark, who you maybe knew once upon a time from The Ringer. That's where I got acquainted with him. Now at ESPN, he does This Is Football. Very informed, very entertaining, very connected. And Kevin, something that really made me laugh, and I appreciated this in one of your recent podcasts. I think it was with Sheil Kapadia. You got to the end, right? You're ranking the best units or the offenses or the defenses of football. I can't remember. And at the very end of the podcast, two of the most educated football guys there are, you basically in the last 60 seconds, Kevin said, well, I don't know. I thought it was the Rams, but maybe it's probably the Eagles or maybe the Niners. Who knows? All right, that's the podcast and we're done. And I found that very relatable. Like the NFL kind of makes fools of us all, no matter how closely we try to follow it.
Well, it's funny. Someone asked me for my picks maybe 3 weeks ago, and this is when Stafford this is when Stafford was starting to do the rehab stuff and was in a Airstream cryogenic back surgery thing, whatever it was. And I said, I'm picking the Rams to make the Super Bowl, but maybe I'm picking the Eagles. And it's a responsible thing to do, is to say, hey, this all depends on the quarterback's back. I'm over 30 years old and I golf. I know back problems don't ever go away.
Yep.
They just can be managed. And so with Matthew Stafford, a guy who's taken a lot of hits, he's had back issues in the past, he's missed games before. He played up in Detroit there and got the crap knocked out of him for a long time. I just think it's really hard. And I think that to accentuate the local angle here, I think the Packers window was wide open. I don't know if, I go back and forth. Should they try to hit, on a big pass rusher, try to make a trade for Trey Hendrickson, something like that to kind of prop open a Super Bowl window? I don't know. I don't know if they have enough right now, but I do know the NFC seems open to me. The Eagles are very, very, very good. I think playing ceiling-wise, I think Jordan Love can play better than Jalen Hurts, so there's an advantage there if he's 100% healthy, all that stuff. I don't think Love was healthy last year after week 1 in Brazil where he picked up that injury. And so I think the NFC is as hard to peg as a conference as I've seen in a long time.
I think Packers fans are down. Not thinking the team is going to stink, but wondering, how high can their ceiling actually be, especially relative to teams like the Eagles or the Rams, who I love if Matthew Stafford is healthy, of course. And I heard you and Shield talking about the Texans, and I think maybe the Texans and the Packers have kind of been tied for the last 2 years. I think maybe we expected too much too early with CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, and their teams in year 2. But now in year 3, I almost feel like the Texans and the Packers could be slightly underrated, especially here locally. But you're telling me that you really believe in the Packers. So talk more about that.
I really do. I mean, I think that so I talked to Jordan Love a couple of weeks ago when I was in Green Bay for the camp tour. And I said, what's the biggest difference between this year and last year for you? And he said, he can use his legs more. I don't think he could do that last year. I think we saw that. And I think that the last resort for any play, if you have athleticism, to scramble for 12 yards.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, and you've done it for the entirety of your football career, and you're wired like that, that is a huge, huge thing we don't give enough credence to. Okay, so I really do think that mattered last year. So I'm of the opinion that if he's fully healthy, that Jordan Love's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think Matthew Golden, who everybody there talked up, is going to be awesome. And then he's actually going to catch the ball. As we know, there were three wide receivers in the top 5 in drop percentage last year that played for Green Bay. That's really, really, really bad. And so I think you add in Golden at the top of that room, you figure out who you can rely on. Someone's going to be the odd man out at some point. Obviously, injuries will dictate some of that. But I think there's enough depth. I think there's enough good drafting. I want to see maybe one guy who can reliably just be a demon in the front 7 in the pass rush. That to me is what's holding it back. Because for the Rams, I said this on the show you're referencing, but I was stunned to find out that the Rams had the highest rookie duo in pressures on record. It was Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. And they broke the record of the Rams rookie duo the previous year.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's how you win the Super Bowl. But again, if Matthew Stafford's hurt, there's no two ways about it. You can't win the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. So the Rams had that kind of advantage, right? The team like the Seahawks have a really good defense. She'll say they might be the best defense in football. And so I think the Packers are at a disadvantage as far as defenses go, but I think their offense can raise their ceiling, and they don't need much from their defense, just athleticism and getting after the quarterback.
So you sat down with Matt LaFleur your time in Green Bay, and you can see that show, This Is Football, on ESPN2, or catch it in podcast or streaming for, wherever you find and consume your sports content. There's skepticism, again, with Packers fans about LaFleur. Not that he's bad, but it's like, can he be great? Can you win a Super Bowl with this guy? And I was thinking last night about, hiring a young hotshot OC. It used to be such a cheat code, and now it feels like those guys can comprise half the league. So how do you evaluate and judge Matt LaFleur relative to maybe Shanahan, McVay, KOC, McDaniel? What sets him apart? You sat down and talked to them.
Yeah, I think Matt LaFleur is an awesome coach, and I think it goes back to what he was able to do with Aaron Rodgers, where he was able to take the Rodgers playbook and blend it with the LaFleur, Shanahan, McVay playbook and win 2 MVPs. And I think that so much was discounted when he was winning 13 games a year, whatever it was, with Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
And I think it was very hand-wavy, and everybody said, well, it's Aaron Rodgers. Well, if it was easy,
Mike McCarthy would have done it. If it was easy to be the winningest coach of all time through 4 years or whatever it was, then Mike McCarthy would have done it, and a bunch of other coaches who do less with more with elite quarterbacks would have done it. But Matt LaFleur did it. And so for me, I just think the offense, he knows offense, he knows play calling, he knows sequencing. And I think he's got an edge to him that I don't think a lot of people see. So I love him. I think he's extremely capable of being a Super Bowl winning coach. And I picked them to make the Super Bowl last year on the strength of that. And again, that kind of got off track week 1 in Brazil, but I still think they're a really good bet this year. And they're 100% of my tier 1 of NFC contenders.
So during your visit to Green Bay, what was one thing you noticed where you thought they're the only team doing this, or they're the team doing this better or differently than anybody else?
I would say a couple of things. Number one is they don't make, like, football is the main thing there.
Yeah.
Which you go some other places, like Dallas and Oxnard is a good example. And you got all these celebrities, and you got all and shooting t-shirts. And what's cool about Green Bay is not only are they just focused on getting better, but the fans are focused on them getting better. They're watching the process, and it's a very informed fan base that just loves ball. And I think that in a lot of places you see a lot of people just walking around and not really paying attention to anything. Like we got there, we were staying at whatever the hotel is right behind the breakfast facility, Spring Hill Suites or whatever. And we had come kind of early. And so we drove, and there were people sitting in the bleachers, like 90 minutes early, just waiting to see practice. Right. And so that's what I love about the whole process is I think that they're very realistic, not only the fans, and you mentioned the fans' expectations, but like I think that on the practice field, they know the task that's in front of them, which I don't think you can say about all 31 other teams. I would say that Jordan Love, as far as how he's different or any of that stuff, I would say that he is so honest with what he needs to do to get better. Like, he answered all my questions, and I don't think he shied away from it. And there's other quarterbacks who said, if you say, hey, what went wrong last year? They wouldn't have said, well, I couldn't run. They would have said, oh, it's a team game. It's a process, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And instead, there's an honesty there. And to be honest with you, I liken it a little bit to Joe Burrow. When you talk to Joe Burrow, he will tell you exactly what's wrong with his game. He will tell you, hey, I need to do this. And like that, I think there's an honesty to it. And a couple of years ago, I was in the year that the Bengals made the Super Bowl. If you remember, there was all this panic coming out of Bengals camp. And the reason that I was optimistic is because it was the Bengals themselves saying, hey, we need to get better at this, better at this. What you don't want is the team doing sunshine and rainbows. I don't think the Packers were doing that. I don't think it was funny. Jordan Love in my interview called Matthew Golden a stud. And then I asked Matt LaFleur if we call him a stud, and he wouldn't. And he kept saying, no, he's going to be a big part of the offense. And I mean, he's going to be big, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, stud-ish, and he's like, no. And so it was just very funny to see that they're all embracing the process and not skipping steps there.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate your time. Everyone should go watch your interviews with Love, and Gutekunst talking about his time scouting in a Crown Vic when he probably had no money is very relatable.
Listen to Def Leppard, right?
Yep, but he shot down. I don't remember what band you brought up, and he's like,
Bon Jovi.
"Oh no."
Bon Jovi.
He's like, "No, not Bon Jovi," which I thought was funny. Thank you, Kevin. I love the show.
He said 80s hard rock, and I didn't know what that meant because I was born in the late 80s.
Thank you, Kevin. I got to go. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Kevin Clark, This Is Football. Kevin Clark, there you go. That's our number 2 Bill show coming up earlier today. And if you're watching on the live stream, I don't think Bill would be bothered by this. I switched all the graphics over to mine because I'm like, well, I set up the interview. He knew it was with me and not with Bill. It was just for that interview. I'm like, I'm going to change these to my graphics so I can run it tonight and it looks good, and then I can post it on YouTube and all the platforms later. So if you missed, or if you don't listen to Kevin's show, and I would imagine, no, just to Kevin, like we all can't listen to everything. He was in Packers camp in early August, and he interviewed LaFleur, Jordan Love. Gutekunst was the most interesting interview, and it was because the last couple of minutes, he asked Gutekunst, and I guess he's been asking a lot of general managers this, and it's a good question. Like, what's one that you wish you could have back? What's a player that you almost drafted and didn't, and you want that back? What's a player that you wish you would have been able to trade up to get, or a player that you wanted to fall to you and didn't? And Gutekunst said like Frank Gore. And I don't remember what year Frank Gore was drafted, but he's going back to like not ancient history, but it's been a while. And Gutekunst spoke so fondly. You could just hear it in his voice about how he misses scouting in the Southeast, driving around an old beater Crown Vic, listening to Def Leppard. And it's funny. I experienced this at the Super Bowl. You talk with people like Kevin or whoever, people who are on ESPN or Fox or NFL Network or whatever, and you talk. I had this exact conversation with Nick Wright, if I may be so bold as to bring this up again. But you bring up that you do local radio or radio within a market, right? No radio is local anymore because it also broadcast, like you can get it on the internet, you can get it wherever, but the crux of shows like this one is Wisconsin, right? And you tell people who work on ESPN or whatever on big networks, it's like, yeah, I do, drive time in Milwaukee or I do St. Paul, wherever. And they go, oh, I miss doing that. And these are people who make much more money. They're on a much bigger platform, but we all yearn for the days where we weren't making that much money. I mean, I make piles, so this doesn't apply to me, but other people would long for the days where they don't make very much money, right? And life was just so much simpler. And here I'm listening to Brian Gutekunst talking like, yeah, I'm one of the 32 general managers in football, but what was great is when I was just driving around southeastern United States eating fast food in a Crown Vic. That's really what I meant. That's really what I wish I was still doing. Very relatable. So that's what we were referencing at the end. You can go back. You should go back. Spotify, YouTube, wherever. Just look up This Is Football Packers, and all of the interviews are in one episode. Very easy to listen to. I did it a couple weeks ago, but I did it again yesterday because I knew Kevin was coming on. We'll wrap up the first hour, some random texts, potpourri, little breaking NFL news regarding Trey Hendrickson that I'll give you on the other side before we reset things at 5 o'clock.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, you've got two different factors here. One, you got to pay him a contract that he'll be happy with. And two, you got to give the Bengals what they want. And, the problem with a guy like that, the more the Bengals want, the more glaring it is that they just won't pay him. Like, if you think he's a first rounder, why aren't you paying him? If you want that for him, why aren't you just signing this guy? And the Bengals have a history of not being very reasonable. And I think at the end of the day, and I've been saying this as it relates to multiple hold-ins, holdouts, issues throughout the league, I feel like it's so much about power, reminding the players who's in charge, keeping the players in their place. And I feel like the Bengals are at the front of the pack when it comes to not money, not trade compensation, the fundamental question of who runs the show, who calls the shots, and who's in charge of this relationship. And I think for that reason alone, it makes the Bengals, unless they're blown away with an offer, it makes the Bengals not inclined to trade Trey Hendrickson.
As Mike Florio, that's from last week. I dug that cut up again because Trey Hendrickson has a new contract. Not really. He has an adjusted version of his current contract. This from Diana Rossini, but I believe Ian Rappaport was the one who had it first. The Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson has agreed to a reworked deal that will end his hold-in. Hendrickson receives a raise that will bump his 2025 salary to $30 million. He will still become a free agent after this year. To me, this is the player going, okay, well, I'm not going to miss games. This is better than nothing. Okay. It's interesting. There's a lot of power wielded by these teams, right? And Florio made mention of it there. And of course, this is from last week before the deal ever got done. But so many of these teams are stubborn and they behave in such a way where it's like, we're operating on our terms here. You don't strong arm us publicly for months on end to get a new contract, right? It's crazy how much power is wielded by teams versus players, especially when you compare that dynamic to that of, probably the NBA is the most stark difference. Baseball players still hold plenty of power. The biggest players do, but the structure makes it a little bit tougher, especially for players on the come up. You have to go through arbitration and you have to, bob and weave through all these obstacles to even eventually reach free agency, before you even think about making a bunch of money in free agency. So look, we're to the point now where anything Trey Hendrickson was ever going to be a Packer. Micah Parsons, I still don't think is going anywhere, but that situation remains a lot more interesting because Micah isn't about to turn 30 or isn't already 30. Trey Hendrickson might be 30. Like Micah Parsons is in his prime. And as Adam Schefter said, I played that sound last week. That situation feels a little nastier. It feels like it's probably gotten worse than some of these other situations where TJ Watt's posturing. Hendrickson's posturing as much as he can, but at some point he's got to play football. Like this between the Cowboys and Micah Parsons, it doesn't actually feel like posturing. Like when I hear comments from Jerry Jones, it's like, it sounds like this is escalating. Like, did you see what Parsons is doing during the preseason game? He was laying on the medical table, making a scene. And I don't think that Micah Parsons is perfect and clean and crisp in all of this. His argument to have a new contract is a good one. I'm probably the best player right up there with Jamar Chase in my draft class, and yet I'm getting paid late when those guys are typically paid early. I get that. I think there are questions of his maturity and his behavior around the league, and I don't know that some of his actions, especially over the weekend, have really helped him. That's a tinderbox, and I will enjoy watching it burn. We'll see how that situation resolves itself or doesn't before week one, now coming up in less than 2 weeks. Let's talk a little bit about the Packers and their preseason game against Seattle, including Jeff Hafley and what specifically we saw from the Packers defense, because I'm most interested in that. Hour number 2 coming up right after a 2-minute update from Zach Heilprin.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers are back in action tonight as they open a series against the Diamondbacks at American Family Field. They do so having lost back-to-back series for the first time since early June. They've seen their lead in the NL Central drop to 5 on Chicago, which
since that 14-game streak, we've kind of not piled on. Now, we did hit some balls that got caught both yesterday and today that you go, whoa, things aren't going your way. We had that in Chicago too, but we hit some balls good. We did some really good things. We played good, but our bullpen's a little bit beat up. Probably they're not as sharp, but a couple of those balls go right to somebody. We're not even talking about it.
Tonight, the crew will send Brandon Woodruff to the mound. He's 4-1, 2.47 ERA. Gave up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings the last time out. Arizona counters with Eduardo Rodriguez. He's 5-7 with a 5.40 ERA. Gave up 4 runs in 6 2/3 innings in his last outing. The Diamondbacks have actually won his last 4 starts. First pitch is set for 6:40.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance is the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
The Packers preseason is in the books after Saturday's win over Seattle. Now the attention shifts to tomorrow's 3 p.m. deadline to have the roster down to 53 players. They already made one move, releasing returner Quan Baker to make room for Darian Kennard. That was the offensive lineman they acquired in a trade with Philly yesterday. They saw them send back a late-round pick. And it's game week for the Badgers. They have the season Thursday night against Miami of Ohio. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
It was poignant. Ueck, there was a lot more to Ueck than the public persona, as great as it was. There was a lot of heart. And like all of us, there were ups and downs in his life, but he didn't wear that on his sleeve, even as he was going through his cancer treatments and whatnot. If he came to the ballpark, and he wasn't up to it every day or night, but when he came to the ballpark, he was Mr. Baseball with a smile on his face and that vibrancy in his voice. But you could tell toward the end that he sensed that this was the end of his baseball life. And as painful as it was when the lead slipped away against the Mets in the playoffs, if you listen to the last words that Bob spoke, that was like his baseball valedictory. He was saying goodbye to his profession, to the game, and to Milwaukee. And it was very touching.
What a great crowd and turnout to honor such an incredible man. And then just a great event. I didn't think there's any way that the baseball gods would bestow this on us.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's a little bit from Pat Murphy after the game yesterday. I don't really get the comment. Maybe I need more context, although I listened to the whole presser. He's like, I didn't think the sports gods were going to do us like that. Are you new here? Surprised it didn't hurricane yesterday and get the game canceled. Sports gods. We're Milwaukee Brewers fans, man. Did you expect anything else? Trevor McGill, in a similar form, not an identical form, but a similar form to his predecessor, Devin Williams. This is how his availability started. You'll hear Adam McCalvey say, "Did this one sting a little bit more, Trevor?
Did this one sting more?"
Yeah. Yeah. That was the end of the question, by the way. I didn't shorten it.
Did this one sting more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's your side.
I again on the topic of me not really having much going on, I'm revisiting the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. Parts of it hold up. I just like listening to Jeff Foxworthy talk. Like who talks like that? Not the accent, it's the inflection. And you went outside. It's like you're screaming, but you're not. You're just talking. So it was Ron White last week. I've been Foxworthy and Engeval. I don't know that I have a huge appetite for Larry the Cable Guy, but I was never a huge Larry the Cable Guy, even when Blue Collar Comedy Tour was like the thing.
Here's your sign.
Here's your sign. Yeah, Trevor, did this one sting a little bit more? What do you have to say? Yeah, it stung a bit more. So to kind of reset things, and I have a Jeff Hafley thing that I want to discuss. I think we can do that in like 15, 20 minutes because we got loaded phone lines. I assume it's to talk about the Brewers, but we can talk about whatever. Just to very, very quickly recap my opening take. The Bob Uecker celebration was a home run times 100 by everyone involved with the Brewers. They did a great job. And as I keep saying, they could have done a third of that and it would have been awesome and it would have been appreciated by everybody. They went 2, 3, 4, 5x what would have been expected, and they did a killer job. It was great. And the broadcasts that carried it, I was listening to the radio broadcast on my drive home. I have a little sound of Lane Grindle and Kent Sommerfeld I can play for you. It's outstanding. Set that to the side. The game was a horrifying reminder of what this team is capable of when something is on the line. And it felt like something was on the line yesterday. They're not playing so great. It's the rubber game of the series. It's Bob Uecker's day. It's packed. Oh, and what happened? The best players just no-showed. And Trevor McGill no-showed. And it's like, hey, you guys, if at any point you ever want to win a playoff series, let alone make a World Series, let alone win one, you guys are going to have to step up and meet the moment sometimes. And this is just a team and a franchise that just feels incapable of doing so. So that's my opening take on the Brewers. We'll get to Jeff Hafley and the Packers, my take from Saturday in a little bit. But first, your phone calls. It's 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Uncle Packer.
Uncle Packer, a little double dip today. It is such a pleasure for me.
Yeah, I kind of left the last one thinking that somebody called in and said he thought the Packers weren't going to win over 7 games. And it was kind of like people here in Wisconsin are down on the Packers. And if we think back to April of this year, do you remember how the Brewers started? And we were like, oh, my God, this is going to be terrible.
I never doubted them. Don't put words in my mouth. You might have doubted. I never doubted this team for a second. I said, you guys are going to turn it around. They're going to pert near win 100 games.
I don't believe that. But that's okay. I think that's – anyway, what I wanted to say about them is that I think that I want to talk about Jordan Love, and the fact that Jordan Love showed us once that he could be a really, really good quarterback. Yep. Last year, maybe he was hurt. And that's what the thing is. He was hurt all year. He had this element and that element. But we know that he can be a good quarterback. But agreeing with what Kevin Clark was saying, I believe he needs to run. I think he needs to have at least 500 yards running this year. He's got to be a mobile quarterback. That's what he was in college. I mean, I think he needs to be more mobile. Last year, it looked like he was almost scared to run. And I think if Jordan runs more and becomes the quarterback he was late 2023, we're going to see a lot of good things happen for the Packers.
Yeah. So Jordan Love's mobility, absolutely. Playmaking on the run, absolutely. Extending plays, absolutely. That was something that actually, if you listen to Kevin Clark's interview with Jordan Love, he said, what's a way that you've grown from last year to this year? Think that you're going to grow. And that's what he said. Extending plays, being more mobile. And it's a little bit of a cheat code in the NFL today. It's like, okay, if read number 1 isn't there, read number 2 isn't there, read number 3 isn't there, I could probably just tuck and run and get some yards. And even if it's just 5 yards in a slide, well, now it's 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 10, or it's 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 10, or it's 2nd and 9 and you move the sticks with a 12-yard scramble, right? Those yards are just free for those bold enough to run. And most quarterbacks are, right? The quarterbacks that aren't at least slightly mobile are pretty darn rare. Goff, Stafford, interestingly enough, traded for each other. Kirk Cousins, I guess, but Atlanta had enough of him pretty darn quick. Like even Daniel Jones, like, all right, he'll get out and move if he needs to. Just moving when you need to. Moving when the opportunity is there to just pick up free yards. That's a really important. We've talked about this with Vagabond John. It was a big talking point of his, a big part of his platform, and has been that and Joe Barry, Jordan Love running, and Joe Barry, basically, that's been his thing over the last year. So I'm with you, Uncle Packer. Absolutely. That's going to be a big part of what Jordan Love needs to do this year. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Got boots on the ground here in Phoenix for this Diamondback series.
Oh, aren't these games in Milwaukee, though?
Oh, are they? Must have had the schedule mixed around.
You prick. I was like, wait, I thought it wrong. Yeah, it is in Milwaukee. That's right. I was second guessing myself there. Well, sorry, you swing and a miss again for UConn.
Yeah, getting used to it. Call me frickin' Christian Yelich here. What do we think of Miguel's presser? Does he have the right to be that ticked off at the media, or are we going to give him the Cam Newton post Super Bowl treatment here?
I don't know. I thought he was kind of a jerk. Look, players can do whatever they want. I prefer to my players to show a little grace in that moment, although I'm hardly showing grace today. I'm whining and kicking and screaming about a regular season loss. Devin Williams was always very upfront and very straightforward, but he was that way every time he spoke. Like, I don't know, McGill was kind of pissy yesterday.
Yeah, he was, being a little baby, but I'd rather have my closer, go at Adam McKelvey than a concrete wall.
Yeah.
So, that's a good trade-off.
Yeah. He was nice to Sophia, but Sophia asked him about like the one good at bat he had, and he kind of gave him an answer. The rest of it, I don't know. I don't know if it was Wagner or Kurt asked about a sequence, and Trevor's like, I don't remember, man. The ball went to center field. I didn't see it. It's like, okay, all right, whatever you say, man. That was striking watching that post game. He was pissed off, man, and he should be.
Yeah, he should be, and I think it was kind of the perfect way to sum up Bob Uecker's broadcasting experience as a Brewer. I mean, he didn't see a lot of success. He saw a lot of crappy bullpen games, so
mostly crap.
I think it honored him accordingly.
See, that's what I hate, Conan. I appreciate the call. That's what I hate is like everyone after the game is saying, well, today's game was basically just like the last game that Bob Uecker called. And it's true. And in some dark, twisted way, that is funny, but I don't want to hear it right now. I don't want to hear it from all you comedians on the internet. I wasn't in the mood. Trevor, today sting a little bit more?
Did this one sting more? Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. I'm not going to be media scrum police guy. I don't really care that much. It's not really my field. But I just listen to the post games. I found it interesting. McGill not really with any long answers, except for the one to Sophia. But Sophia asked him about the one batter he sat down. Yeah. 608-321-1670 Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Brewer fans, the sound you were about to hear, tick, 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 tick. It's closing in. It's down to 5. The tick, tick, tick. Wasn't that great yesterday? I didn't realize that the last game Uecker called is when Devin Williams gave up the home run to the first baseman for the Mets.
Yes, you did. What do you mean?
No, I didn't know that until you just said that. That was the last game that he called was the home run by Williams. I mean, the Mets guy.
Alonso, yeah.
So that was a happy day, too. But for all you Brewer fans, I just wanted to call and chime in. Hey, tick, tick, tick. I mean, it's going to happen.
Is that a clock ticking? What is that exactly? I mean, am I hearing footsteps behind me? Am I hearing a clock? What does that do?
Yeah,
and you're a man of great audio skills because
the clock is ticking.
Can't see
on the Brewers big meltdown they're going to have because you can't keep winning 29 in a row or whatever it is out of 30 when you got all rookies and you've blown up your bullpen according to Murphy. I'm telling you, it's going to be great because this time now the Cubs are squeezing. We got our great magician. All of a sudden he goes from batting 50 for 50 games and
Tucker.
Yeah, somebody must have got a hold of him, and it had to be Aaron Rodgers, or he had Witchery,
Braun,
or he had the beads.
Braun.
And all of a sudden he goes from 50 to now he's unconscious. So,
didn't he have like a broken finger or something? Ryan Braun probably helped him out. Ryan Braun and Sean Markham.
Back
allegedly.
in June. But he's been healthy the last and all of a sudden his bat's different, it's hitting the zone different. I mean, one comment about Packer football this year.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change until our little soft quarterback learns how to go under the center. Mark Short, he had him on ESPN about a week ago, said, Mark Short.
Schlereth. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go, Schlereth, yeah. They asked him about play action versus where should quarterbacks be. Until Love gets his butt under the center, this offense will not be effective. You got one of the best running backs. You can't do play action, and you can't do run-pass option until he gets his butt under the center on second and third down because, like he said, when you're in a shotgun, you have no play action. All you have is a two-step drop and then out to the receivers. You take away half your game.
Yeah.
So, Love, stop being a sissy.
Well, I mean, I don't know how – is it really that more manly to get under center? I feel like that's probably strategic with his injury a little bit. I don't think Jordan Love is like, I won't get under center.
Man. Well, he's got slow cookers too, and little them.
He is part of my generation. That is. Speaking of my generation, I don't know if you heard Cohn's call about Trevor McGill kind of being short with the media. Do you have a take on that?
What do you expect somebody's going to say after he just blew a lead? And remember, Cohn, he's an ex-Cub, So that ain't saying much for him.
That's true. He's an X a lot of things. Twin, Dodger.
That's
He's been
right.
around, I suppose.
Yeah, the Cubs got rid of him. So if the Cubs got rid of him, because our bullpen stinks, that doesn't say much for the Brewers. But yeah, it's nice to know. But I did like Bob Uecker though. But I grew up with him. When he used to play the Cubs, I would turn him on the first, second, fifth, sixth, and eighth and ninth innings.
So you'd mix it up
just to hear Uecker. Oh yeah, I mean, he's the story he could tell. You don't get that out of the people in the last 15 years. Him and Vince, who's the guy? Vince Lloyd? No, not Lloyd. Vince
Scully.
Yeah, the guy for the Dodgers.
Yeah, Vince Scully.
Guys like that who could be telling a story and then strike one, and then back to the game. Uecker had that knack. I mean, to be able to tell a story, he didn't need a second person in the booth. And it was actually enjoyable because he was right on with the action, fly balls. You could tell a good play-by-play guy how he does play-by-play by fly balls, because you don't get lost and you're not
how they're judging them off the bat, how they're reacting right away.
Yeah, because you get some guys, and God forbid, I feel sorry for the Oakland fans and the Boston Red Sox fans, because now they went to a quota system and we just had to get women in sports. If you just can't leave it alone, baseball.
Wait, what? Hold on, I'm gonna let you go. I didn't know where you were going with that. I thought you were going to talk about ballpark size, and that's not right. God damn it, Dave. Actually, Dave's siding with Trevor McGill. I thought he would have come down hard on Trevor, and this generation can't lose with grace and class.
Did this one sting more? Yeah.
Jared and DeForest saying nothing over the last few years has fueled the Brewers more than the cry of Cubs fans. As soon as Cubs fans start drinking the "this is our year" or the Brewers are slipping Kool-Aid, that's when the Brewers put the Cubs in their place. In the back of the stands, looking up at what could have been. Keep chirping, Dave. I'll enjoy watching your wild card exit. Well, let's not throw stones from our wild card exit glass house here now, Jared. Let's not have an early exit off between these two teams. Bobby and Menominee, by the way, on the earlier part of the game, we're talking about the batting title, says it was Jose Reyes. He bunted a single and then left the game. Yeah, what a loser. Batting title in 2011. I don't blame him. A lot of guys would do the same. But a little bit of a Brewers recap. And why not, as we go to break here, I'll give you what I cut from the radio broadcast earlier. So massive tip of the cap to WTMJ and the Brewers Radio Network for this. But we'll get into the Packers when we come back. But on the way out the door, this is a pretty cool moment between Lane Grindle and Kent Sommerfeld. I really liked this. I was driving yesterday and I had to clip it with my phone. So here's 60 seconds with Lane Grindle and longtime producer, I believe almost 40 years with Bob Uecker, Kent Sommerfeld. Here you go, and we'll come back with some Packers talk.
What is your favorite Bob Uecker call that you had a chance to be the engineer for which is, for 39 years?
Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday is
the
number
Rob
one.
Deere home run, the Dale Swaim home run, team streak, and everything. It was a fantastic call, the excitement in his voice and the joy in his voice, and he was feeding off the fans and them going nuts, and the way he called it. And the second one was probably when Nigel Morgan had the single up the middle and Gomi scored. They win the division, that playoff series. I mean, that was nuts. That was good. And one thing, just to expound on what Tony and Randy said, he was a true Milwaukee guy.
Right.
He had times to leave Milwaukee. George Steinbrenner courted him, wanted to come to New York. Here's a guy who grew up on 10th and Meineke, was in the Brave system, and he was true a Milwaukee guy. And if you're from the Midwest and from Milwaukee, you understood that was Ueck, and he wanted to be where he was in the chair broadcasting Brewers baseball.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I just want to tell you, I met Ueck in 1974. Up until he passed in 2025. He was the same person through all the things he accomplished. We've seen much of it on the screen today. But he never changed throughout all those years. He just loved making people laugh. Right to the end. He told me he wasn't afraid of dying. He just didn't want to be there when it happened.
Robin Yount from yesterday, pretty good. Excellent line. The Wisco Sports Show presented by Road America. Online at roadamerica.com. Check out their events calendar, their schedule for the rest of the year. Still plenty to do, still plenty to see. So make your way up there. Appreciate them presenting the Wisco Sports Show. Any other kind of prevailing thoughts? I'll get them in here, and I think at 5:30 we'll do a hard reset and get into the Packers. I have some sound from the weekend and a topic specifically with Jeff Hafley in the defense that I kind of want to get into. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Second cousin Mike.
Second cousin Mike. What's going on?
Hey, got to give you credit and call out the flip side. Fish tacos are awesome.
Yes. Oh, I see the problem, and you can get them anytime, but my problem is when I go there to do shows, it's either Thursdays or Fridays, so I don't get the deal. So those who are there, you got to go on Wednesday to get the deal, but I'll pay a little extra. I'll pay the normal freight, I should say, to get them on other days of the week because those are awesome.
They are very good. So I wasn't going to call in, but I had to call in after Dave did.
I figure, here we go. Yes.
With his TikTok. You know, I told 2 months ago, told Cubs fans, we're going to catch you. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I wish him the best of luck, but we're just in a little slump. We'll recover.
That's the hope. That's the hope, right? It's just a slump. They just, timely hitting went away a little bit. That's the hope. I mean, my concern is that their starting pitching isn't really doing what it was doing earlier. Like, I need Freddie to get into 6. I need Miz to not blow up in the 4th. I need, you know what I mean? Like, that's a place this team needs to start.
Very true, but we caught them. Now it's their turn to catch us.
It's kind of insane the swings that this division has taken. Brewers were down 6-something. They went up 9-something, and now it's back to 5. I mean, you play 5 times in 1 week, that'll happen, but the Brewers did ultimately only give up 1 game in that series. It's got to be one of the wilder division races we've seen if you were to like put it on a line graph, you know?
Exactly. Oh, look at you talking math.
Well,
you're putting on a line graph now.
I'm pretty locked in today. I already did 4 hours of Bill's show, so I'm pretty, radio's not enough. I also need to throw math and science into the mix. I appreciate it. That's second cousin Mike. The fish tacos at Flipside. They're the Wednesday deal. I believe it was Monday. I think the burgers. Oh, you can get a little deal on a burger. Go out, sit on the patio, enjoy that space in the waning days of summer. Still plenty of outside time left, but a beautiful night. If you don't like to sweat, and you wear a little hoodie outside tonight. That is outstanding. The Brewers, of all the things that are concerning me right now, and maybe some of you are not concerned at all. I am concerned if you can't hear it in my voice. I think the number one thing that's freaking me out a little bit is that guys like Freddie Peralta, Quinn Priester, Woodruff, Mizorowski for sure, but he's almost in his own category. Like, we can't be having 100-pitch 5-inning starts. Sometimes we need to get 6. Some days I kind of want to get 7 because when the Brewers were winning and stacking, a dozen wins in a row, the timely hits were there and the timely home runs were there, but it all kind of starts with the starter setting the table. If the starter goes 6, it allows you to cycle your relievers and keep them fresh. And I think, between Koenig and Mears and Uribe and McGill, especially, like that rest this time of year, now that we're 5 months into the season, becomes pretty darn important. And if the starter, not only is the starter not setting up the bullpen for success, but if the starter is walking a bunch of guys, giving up a bunch of runs, and not only is the starter maybe out in the 4th or the 5th inning, but the team is also trailing, like that's been a concern. And I believe it's Woodruff tonight. Woodruff hasn't been bad. I would like him to really have a start where he reaches cruise control. We'll see if he's able to do it. The next Mizorowski start I'm going to be looking at with a microscope. It's like, dude, you can't have a blow-up inning where you throw 40 pitches and walk 3 guys. Like, it can't. I don't care how good the other innings are. It's just a non-starter. A professional starting pitcher cannot do that. You can't lose control to that degree. And I guess that theme was kind of prevalent as well, if I could find this cut from Pat Murphy yesterday talking about my McGill, because I know everybody's bent out of shape about McGill. And he blew the save, so I get it. I just think he's been better for longer than most Brewers fans are kind of making it seem like. So I'll play you. This is Pat Murphy after the game yesterday talking about Trevor McGill, his performance, his standing as the team's closer, his standing among the relief staff.
He's fine. You just can't get 30 pitches in. He's a 2-pitch guy. You can't get 30 pitches in against hitters like that. Look at the hitters he faced. Look at the payroll of the hitters he faced, and look at the talent over there of guys. And the one kid is hot as a pistol. And then, Ramos is a huge prospect for them.
Ramos really had their way with him this weekend. I was almost surprised they didn't walk him in the second. And also, could someone please smack Brandon Lockridge on the back of the head with a bag of onions? Like, why is he diving everywhere in the 9th? Again, he's done it twice in like 2 or 3 days. He did it Friday night, did it yesterday. Like, dude, you got to keep the ball in front of you. You're not Blake Perkins. Now, of course, Blake Perkins wasn't available to be a defensive replacement than he was, and was never used. I would like a good defensive replacement in center field. As good a defender as Brandon Lockridge is, I actually don't know if he's a good defender. One more call here, and then we'll take a break. We'll switch to Packers talk on the other side. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
What's going on, Louie?
Hey, thanks for double dipping here.
Thank you.
Earlier today and this afternoon. So I love Murph. I like the style he manages with. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter upset about Seager batting for Durbin in the 9th inning yesterday. And maybe Seager had a better chance of getting on base or getting hit than Durbin. But if Jackson Churio was ready to come back today and the Brewers had to make a move, Seager's probably the one getting shipped out, I would think. They traded for Lockridge, so I think it would be him. Seager's probably the man out.
Interesting.
So even if he had a better chance of getting a hit than Durbin is going to be here for, I don't know how long he's going to, how many years, but through the rest of this season, Durbin's going to be a player assuming they make the playoffs, he's going to be in the lineup in some form or fashion. Why aren't we giving the guy who's going to presumably have big at-bats later on, if he's going to have to learn how to grind through at-bats, then what's the better chance right now than against a tough righty reliever? Because that's what's going to have to be the case, later on this season. Siegler is not going to play an important factor, I can't imagine, at any point in the playoff where Durbin is. Why aren't we giving him the tough at bat to see how he responds?
So that's a perfectly fine take. I appreciate it, Louie. I am not so sure that the Brewers don't view Anthony Siegler as someone who's going to get important at bats for them. And I know we talked about it after the game, and I don't remember where or when. I'm just scanning through my email from Mike because maybe I saw it on Twitter. But they like Siegler's versatility, and they like his plate discipline, probably a little bit more than Durbin's. But I'm with you in this framing, in this context. Forget who's going to get important at bats, down the stretch, and forget who's going to be here later this season or into the future. And they got a lot of term with Durbin. He's going to be here a while unless they kick him out, right? Would you rather have Anthony Siegler when the numbers are favorable, or would you rather have Caleb Durbin even in an unfavorable matchup? I think Durbin's shown some gamer ability, which is probably the reason why the Brewers and Murphy like him so much. Look, of all the things that bothered me yesterday, Siegler getting in at bat in the ninth was at the bottom of the list. I wasn't really that upset about that. Isaac Collins getting a pinch hit, I like that, right? Not subbing Blake Perkins in as a defensive replacement, that probably bothered me more than anything because Murphy loves him anyway. It's not like he's putting a player out there he doesn't like. Like he should, I think he'd be chewing on the railing looking for reasons to get Blake Perkins into the game. So I wasn't that bent out of shape about Anthony Siegler. It was more just Trevor McGill not doing his job. Like at a certain point, and I love nitpicking managerial decisions and lineups because that's kind of what this is for. But at a certain point and in certain occasions, you just watch the players and you go, yeah, that guy didn't do his job. And that's what it came down to. And my beef with the game yesterday and why it pissed me off so much is because that's always what happens to them in the playoffs. It's like, oh, so that guy who's supposed to be really good just had an awful moment at the worst possible time. And at some point, it's like, you guys, if you want to advance in the playoffs, never do anything that people are going to remember, you're going to have to come up big in those moments and rise to the occasion. This just hasn't really shown to be a club that will do that. The Monday Mailbag in about 15 minutes. So submit your questions, grantbills21@gmail.com. I will ask and answer those questions in the final segment of the show. Whatever is on the table, sports or otherwise. Coming up next, I want to talk about Jeff Hafley.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jeff Hafley is a sicko. He is a psychopath. I love it. I mean, exotic pressures. Jeff Hafley is clearly trying to set the tone here and saying, look, we're just because it's a preseason game doesn't mean we're not going to call our stuff. We're going to try. We're going to attack. It's a mindset. And the Packers forced 4 turnovers in this game. They did everything that they set out to do. They were dominant in the first half. And it wasn't just like the first quarter, okay, it's 10-0, but then they win the second quarter when it's backups against backups, also 10-0. The Seahawks don't score until late in the fourth quarter. The Seahawks didn't convert a third down until halfway through this game, more than halfway through this game. So, like the defense for some of the questions that you had, I think early on, some of the effort, and weren't playing all their guys. This was what you wanted to see. The sacks, the turnovers, attacking the ball aggressively, getting the ball out.
It's a little bit from Pete Bukowski on Saturday's Locked On Packers right after the game. I was listening to it yesterday. I was coming back from up north, which, by the way, if you have any Wisconsin-based concerns or questions, perfect time to voice them is the Monday Mailbag coming up in about 10 minutes. Submit your questions, grantbills21@gmail.com. So I was listening to Peter yesterday, and that struck me. He talked about Matthew Golden, and I thought that analysis was apt, per usual. My first instinct when I hear a bit of commentary like that, man, Jeff Hafley is a sicko. I mean, he's a psycho. He came to crack skulls, is to hear that and roll my eyes a little bit. It's like, okay, it's a preseason game. Like, let's, a little fanboyish. But, when I think about the actual factors at play with Jeff Hafley's defense in year 2, and the things that have been talked about and the things that have been preached, and the areas that I believe to be potential areas of growth, I think that idea and that concept and that reaction to what we saw on Saturday, where the Packers were forcing fumbles and getting picks and just kind of going balls to the walls on defense in the third and final preseason game to boot. I think it matters. I'm not going to say that it's the world's most important game and it's the world's most important thing, but to look at that game and think, okay, so they played a lot of their starters. They did not play vanilla. They ran stunts and they ran twists and they disguised things and they wanted to blow guys up and get to the ball. That is further evidence and a continuation of what's really been preached throughout training camp so far. The ball king, right? Mike Clemens shared this cut with me earlier. This is Rashawn Gary talking about ball king. And what's his name again? Wendell Davis, right? They have sirens and they have all these things anytime the ball hits the ground. Like, this is what they're preaching. And this is Rashawn Gary talking about trying to keep him busy. This is from Saturday.
Man, trying to keep him busy all year, man. We got a goal as a team, and he's been making sure when we fall short, he let us know. And, he still haven't let us know when we have a good day, because there's always room for improvement. But he let us know when we got pick it up, and he also let us know when we had a down day. And we always got to be consistent. And shot attempts, and that's what he's preached about. So as you see today, taking a lot of shot attempts, getting that ball out, getting the offense more possessions, help us out in the game.
So this ball king idea, right? I was skeptical of it at first, because it seemed like this is going to sound really jaded. So don't jump off my, don't turn me out here when I say this, but the ball king to me at first sounded something like, okay, well, if Dan Campbell did that, or if Nick Sirianni did that, it would work and it would be cool. But because it's happening on Matt LaFleur's Green Bay Packers team, part of me thinks that it's part of me thinks this is just lame. It's not going to work. Sorry, that's my cynicism, right? But just based on results, not just in a preseason game, all the results on Saturday were good, just kind of throughout camp. I don't think this defense is going to get better by leaps and bounds, but I don't think it needs to get better by leaps and bounds. We've been so conditioned as Packers fans throughout the years. You just got to fix the defense. You just got to fix the defense. You just got to have a top 15 defense. You just got to have a top 10 defense. And I think we're so conditioned to that, where we go into every offseason and we're preparing for training camp in the preseason with the idea is, well, the defense has got to take a step. The defense has got to take a step. I thought for the most part, they were just fine last year. The pass rush could have been a little bit better, but I thought as the year went along and they realized that, okay, so this is what we're working with. How do we do our best to manufacture pressures and to scheme stuff up? I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought the secondary, despite not having Jair, sorry, it's hour 6 today after doing Bills. My brain starts to go, so bear with me. I thought their secondary, even without Jair and missing certain guys, did fine. A linebacking core that had injuries to Cooper and to Quay Walker, I thought they were fine. I thought they did their job, especially in the playoffs against the Eagles and in some of their, their bigger games. I thought their defense was okay. I would have liked it to be a little bit better against Minnesota and Detroit at times, but those teams were also really, really good. Ben Johnson and KOC as the triggermen on those offenses. Like that's not an easy task. I don't think this defense, put it this way, needs to go from being bad to being great. I think this defense needs to go from what I believe to be already pretty good to very good. I think that's enough. I have a lot of belief in this defense. They added some really good depth with Hobbs, signing and bringing back McDuffie, the emergence of Teron Hopper, and the addition of Isaiah Simmons, who I think will make the roster as the 4th off-ball linebacker. Maybe they go Welch instead, but those two players kind of feel like different sides of the same coin. Like special teams mostly, maybe give you a little play on the field. That's about it. Like, I like their depth. They added some nice day 3 depth on the defensive line. Kenny Clark getting healthier, Lucas Van Ness in year 3. Like, I like the shape of this defense a lot, and I'm not someone who's sitting here thinking, man, they got to get better. They got to get better. They got to get better. I think the offense has to get better. That's a conversation for a different day. With the defense, I'm pretty confident and I'm pretty comfortable with where they are. I think they can make little improvements around the edges and on the fringes, and I think this whole ball king idea, just this obsession with the ball, which was illustrated in the way that they played and the way that they chose to play on Saturday. They were not vanilla. They didn't rest many guys. They went out there wanting to run their stuff and really get a good pop. I think that's a continuation and another piece of evidence of what they're emphasizing and what they're talking about in camp. And if this Packers defense is by and large the same, with a healthy Kenny Clark, with a Lucas Van Ness that's giving them anything, with Nate Hobbs on the back end, and a high-level focus on the ball, that defense can win a championship if the offense does its job. And again, I'm more concerned about the offense than I'm about the defense. And I feel like a lot of days I'm in the minority there. I also think I'm correct. So again, we can reckon with that a different day. I just wanted to talk about Jeff Hafley and some of the decisions and some of the choices they made to play, who and how they chose to play on Saturday. It struck me as it struck Peter Bukowski, which is why I played that sound. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark, how we doing?
I knew it was you, Ridge Runner Mark. I am well. How about you?
Not too shabby. Speaking to the idea of going after the ball as far as defensive players, my only concern, and perhaps it's probably already addressed in how they're approaching that mentality, is don't give up a tackle just to try and rip the ball out. And
I suppose, yeah.
I'm hoping that tackling doesn't fall off because everybody's diving in and just swatting their hands at the ball, trying to get the ball out instead of, first guy tackle, second guy go for the ball, third guy go for the ball, or however that is preached. That's the first thing I thought of. Oh, they're focused on getting the ball out. Well, maybe we should also focus on tackling. I saw a lot of bad tackling.
But I was going to say, do you remember them as a bad tackling team last year? Because I for the most part didn't. They really honed it in against the run. Like I thought they really held up their end against the run, and sometimes against the pass. I thought when they gave up passes, it was because they couldn't get to the quarterback. I thought it was for a lot of instances wasn't on the it wasn't on the coverage unit.
I will say that probably why it sticks out in my mind is every time I saw a guy go for the ball, he didn't get it.
Okay.
And a tackle, he could have just been there trying to tackle. So, I can't speak to whether it just felt like, because every time you see a guy go for a ball and not get it, it just amplifies it. So then maybe my brain goes, oh, well, they must be really bad at tackling because that's all you see, even though that's not truly what's happening. So it's just something that popped into my mind on the defense. I kind of agree with you about the offense. They got to start being consistent with how good they can be.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to be Dallas playoff game, holy crap, pants on fire all the time.
It'd be nice if they could do that a couple of times this year, but not every week. Yeah.
They should do that to the teams that they're quote unquote supposed to do that to. That's what I want to see.
Sure.
But on top of that, the teams that are gonna kind of the Detroits and the Vikings, anyone, or Philadelphia for that matter, you can't just lay an egg. You can't just run and hide because of whatever the issue is. Dropped passes, bad throws because Love is hurt, offensive line, they weren't world killers last year. I think they could have been a lot better, and I'm hoping they improve. They need to just increase a little bit more with the consistency of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think that's true. I think that's true of both sides of the ball. I think that's what we're saying about the defense, Ridge Runner Mark, is like the defense, I don't think needs to take leaps and bounds. I appreciate the call. I think they need to smooth out some things, and they're going to get little incremental improvements from certain players, which will probably result in more splash plays. Feel the same of the offense, just mature a little bit, smooth out, a little bit more consistent, execute at a more reasonable, level, cut out the mistakes, and be confident and capable to handle and control games in the fourth quarter or going into halftime or coming out of halftime, right? With a chance when you're up 3 with the ball, 3 minutes left in the half, can you go down and get a score and leave no time? Can you come out of halftime and establish yourself and say, all right, we got the ball coming out of halftime. We want to get to our stuff and immediately kind of establish ourselves for the second half. Or the situation that I always bring up, 6 minutes left, the defense just got you the ball back. You're up 4. You put together a long touchdown drive and you win, right? Is this an offense that I'm going to be able to trust to do that in that spot? Last year, certainly not. This year, I'd like to see a little bit of growth and maturation from an offense to execute in bigger moments like that, in and out of halves, to close a game and to slam a door if necessary, because it can't always be on the defense. The offense can't fail to close out a game and then the defense gives up a score. Well, the defense gave it away. No, the offense didn't do it either, right? And yet we don't often look at that side of the ball. It's just how we're wired. Your emails. The Monday Mailbag is back after an absence of 2 weeks. Sorry, my flight was delayed last week coming back from Montana. Submit your question. GrantBills21@gmail.com. Final segment. We'll wrap things up with the mailbag next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Because the mail never stops.
Charles, we've been writing to you.
She's got mail. That's the name of the book.
That's it, honey. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. And you gotta get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in.
The Monday Mailbag, one of my favorite segments. It's just an excuse to talk about some silly, stupid things that aren't so heavily focused on the Brewers or on the Packers. That's what this segment is. And it's fun because we can interact. Shouldn't the best shows interact with the listener host? There should be a good back and forth. This one's from Christopher. It says, hi, Grant. Any tips for a long weekend in and around La Crosse? Well, there's a lot to do around La Crosse, Chris. It's a beautiful area. It depends on what you like to do. If you are an outdoorsy person, I would recommend you go up to the bluffs, take in the views, walk through the marsh. Goose Island's one of my favorite places. You drive south of town. And if you're into the outdoor, if you're really outdoorsy, drive down to like the Westby ski jump or like get down in the Driftless Hills. It's like 30 minutes south of town. So go for a cruise, listen to whatever you listen to when you cruise, get a fountain Diet Coke or whatever you like drinking in the car from Quick Trip and just enjoy a cruise. You'll probably see Eric on I-90 down there. In terms of actual places to go, I'm sure I'm going to miss something. If I were spending a long weekend in La Crosse, I would probably see who's playing at the old Popcorn Tavern, that hole in the wall downtown. I'd probably call Jamie at Ken's Barbershop on the north side, get a chop, sit outside at Moxie's, watch the boats, go to Bluffside in the afternoon. That's a bar that I like when it's sunny outside and the golfers are coming and going. Good Saturday spot to watch a college football game, that sort of thing. It's just a couple places. Again, I could sit here and rack my brain for an hour, but those are just a couple spots. And obviously, seeing you're a listener to the show, you need to close the loop and go to La Crosse Beer House on the corner of 3rd and Pearl. Go get a pretzel or a big mug of beer. Sit outside. It'll be a beautiful weekend to sit right up on one of the tables. The fresh air is coming in through the door. So go to La Crosse Beer House and then go to Flipside. If you're going to be here over the weekend, sit outside. They got the best sand and space in town. So obviously go support our sponsors. But there's plenty of great places that are all worth seeing. It just kind of depends on what you're into. If you're an outdoorsy person, I would drive. I would look at Google Maps and look for the green places, and I would go there. It's hard to go wrong. Just walk around, dude. Walk through Riverside Park. Just see the sights. Throw some AirPods in. Enjoy yourself. Tyler and Mass, with Labor Day coming up, at what point do you consider that summer is indeed over? Well, Labor Day is the correct answer, but that doesn't mean that we need to be depressed. You can still go outside and do plenty of awesome things, and I will. To me, summer ends at Labor Day, and maybe even ends before, because to me, summer is a season of abundance. In order to really fully embrace the fact that it's summer, I need to feel like I got runway. You know what I mean? Like, part of the reason why April and May are such awesome months, it's the promise and the abundance of summer in front of us. The road is in front of us. We're looking down the road. And this time of year, we're looking back. So even though the weather's still beautiful this time of year and fall is great and sports, it's a great time of year, it feels like it's waning and not waxing. And to me, summer, the idea of summer is an idea, it's one of abundance. And the abundance at this time of year is gone, even though I might go out more in the next month, mostly because I'll probably be able to walk, because hopefully I'm out of this walking boot soon. Hopefully. I'm knocking on wood so hard. Hopefully I'm out of it soon. Tyler emails. Says, if you have any more vacation left this year, can you use it during the postseason? Ueck was laughing after that loss today. I have some vacation left, but I got like a couple weddings. I got a friend who's got a Friday wedding who I love, and I'll be there. I got a Friday wedding in December. I have a rehearsal dinner in October that's on a Friday, although maybe I can find a workaround. Look, sorry, these last 2 weeks have been tough because I went to Montana for the week, but I flew out of Minneapolis, and we flew out Saturday morning, and the buddy who I was going with, I kind of wanted to like get dinner and kick around, so I took that Friday off. Although the Friday before, I did Bill's show. You're coming out ahead if you like me. Still got time. And then I got back a day late because my flight was pushed back. And then last week, I had to go to a bachelor party, which, by the way, what a hell of a time up in the Northwoods. The Bluegill Bar up in Birchwood. What a fun spot. Great fish fry. And I like a place, by the way, that kind of has a simple fish fry. Like, I want the fish, I want the coleslaw on the bun, but just a basket with very simple portions. Like, I don't need it. A fish fry to me does not need to be a plate the size of, my head with huge, like, I don't need that. Give me a couple of hot bluegill fillets, a handful of fries, a bun with some coleslaw. Great. And I didn't want too much because I was really, the drinking was, you enter this Zen state. And I've reached it now twice in the last 2 weeks, when I was in Montana fishing and then this bachelor party, where you just lose track of how many beers you're drinking. And you're not like getting grossly drunk. You're just drinking to enjoy because you're with your friends and you're doing something that you love. And there's some switch in your brain that when you reach that point, it clicks off. It's like, I don't know what number of beer this is. I don't know what time it is. I can't feel uncomfortable at the number of beers that I've had or the time at which I'm drinking the beers, because my brain that part of it is switched off. And you might be thinking, Grant, it's switched off because you're drunk. You say potato, I say potato. It's still this form of Zen state that we've reached. Tomorrow, I think we should wrangle Zach Heilprin on the program because college football is back. The Badgers are back on Thursday. We have Jesse Wednesday. Why not a little double Badgers feature? Enjoy the Brewer game tonight. They need a win as badly as they need to win badly. They need to win badly. Let's leave it there. Enjoy the game tonight. I will be back tomorrow at 4. If you missed the Kevin Clark interview, I'm going to throw it individually up on the YouTube because it was a good one. Thank you for listening always.